Okay, so this video is some basic instructions for your paper. Um, for the summer semester, I am going to lower the number of pages required. For the regular fall and spring semester, it's going to remain the same in the syllabus. Um, and that's just because it's 10 weeks versus 15 weeks. Okay, so uh, there's an outline in the syllabus, but please use APA style, um, you know, normal 1 inch margins, not a lot of space in between uh, lines or segments. Don't, if you type half a page for part one, don't skip to a whole other page. Just keep on typing for part two. We don't want a lot of empty space. Uh, we're talking about like Times New Roman font, 11 to 12 pitch, basic double space, no more than double space. In graduate school, I found I still had to kind of go over this, but um, you know, uh, these are kind of basic guidelines. Um, so one of the questions is always about references. Okay, so um, you know, don't use a textbook as a reference. Don't cite Corey or um, you know things like that. Use real books uh, from the original theorists or people who have enhanced their theories, or so professionals in the field, or professional journals. All of those you should be able to get from our university library online. Um, so there should be PDF versions of books. There should be PDF versions of journal articles from professional journals. Um, and there's no need to use websites. There's no need to use textbooks. Uh, you know, this is not an internet project. This is a professional project. Um, okay, so those are the basic logistics. Um, so in a regular semester, this paper is 6 to 8 pages. So content, 6 pages in length, plus title page, 1 page. Abstract is not needed. You can simply do an introduction. So an abstract does not need its own page, and 1 page for references. In order to use a reference, it must be quoted or cited within the paper. And you would do that in part two, where you're discussing theory. So you could refer to something that your theorist said, or maybe there's a professional journal on how that theory was used with a certain client population. Primary theorists are considered the original theorists, and secondary sources are people who have done research on those theories. Okay, so you've got, but in the summer, uh, we're going with a much shorter paper. Part one is 1 page, part two is 2 pages, part three is 1 page. So you've got 4 content pages, a title page, 1 page, and a reference page, 1 page. So we've cut it down by 2 pages. Hopefully that'll be helpful in the summer, and you'll just have an opportunity to write a little more in the fall and spring. But I think that's fair given the time. So let's look at the outline. We have a title page. I would simply do an introductory short paragraph. You don't need to do an abstract. And then you can label the 3 parts. You can say part 1, personal characteristics of effective counselors. Part 2, my chosen theory. Part 3, reaction to course and assignment and future role as counselor. References. So you're going to have your title page, you'll have a little introduction, so part 1, it's usually in Corey's textbook chapter 2, but he might have changed that in the most recent update. But somewhere in the first 3 chapters, he should have a section called Personal Characteristics of Effective Counselors, and he lists characteristics. So, this is narrative. I want you to discuss these characteristics. Don't just list them and say, I've got this, I need to work on this. Tell me, give me examples. How do you use these positive characteristics if you possess them? How, if there are characteristics that you need to work on, how are you going to go about improving them? Are you going to go to therapy? Are you going to visit other cultures? What are you going to do to improve actively on the characteristics that still need improvement? Part 2 should be the largest part. This is the main portion of the paper. So choose one and only one theory, and the theory has to be one that we covered. Use your personal theoretical foundation in counseling. Once again, so you're not teaching or writing about the theory. You're not doing a paper on person-centered theory, okay? We've already learned the theory. You've read about it. You've heard my lectures. Everybody should know the theory by now. So this is not a paper on a theory, okay? We want to know why? Why this theory? Why do you want to make this your foundational theory? Describe why you chose this theory personally, how the theory fits you as an individual. Does it fit your personality, your beliefs? What is it about this theory that you connect with? And how it fits you as a therapist. And what are the positive features of the theory? What needs improvement? So criticize the theory as well. But anything you criticize, you have to tell me how you're going to fix it. How are you going to improve the theory specifically? Perhaps the theory you choose may work well with a certain client population, and that's the population that you want to work with in the future as a counselor. But this is more about the application of the theory and why you were choosing this theory as an individual and a therapist or a school counselor, either one. Part 3 and part 2 is where you're going to use some quotations or citations, brief ones. All right, part 3. What is your personal reaction to the course? That's a very minor part. To this assignment. Here's the big part that I really want you to think about. What do you perceive your future role to be in the field of counseling? And I would add, and how will you use theory in that role in the field of counseling? So maybe you want to work in prisons, maybe you want to work in schools, maybe you want to work in a private practice. How will you use theory with specific populations that you hope to work with? A brief summary or conclusion, and you will not be presenting your final paper, but I will have you discuss a little bit about it in the final discussion post. If you have questions, please email me. Let me know.